The NHL has had its fair share of draft history. Many heralded players have turned out to be franchise saviors, while others have kind of been busts. In this video, we'll be checking out all of the NHL draft picks in the 90s and examining how their careers played out. Owen Nolan, 1990.
Ladies and gentlemen, Berard's first-round selection from the Cornwall Royals, Owen Nolan.
In the 1990 draft, the Quebec Nordics drafted Owen Nolan #1 out of Cornwall.
Paul, I'm really happy and I'm a great honor going first overall.
Nordics had scored 51 goals in 58 games in the OHL, and he made the Nordics as an 18-year-old. So, how did he perform? Well, in his first full season, Nolan had a lackluster first season, but he netted 42 goals and 73 points in his sophomore season. He had a few injury issues here and there in the 2 seasons that followed, but he still helped the Nordics to win the Eastern Conference in the lockout-shortened 94-95 season by scoring 30 goals. The Nordics traded Nolan to Denver in the summer of '95, but he was traded to the San Jose Sharks that same October. He played 8 seasons with the Sharks, setting career highs with 44 goals and 84 points in the 1999-2000 season. But by March 2003, he was traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs. He ended up bouncing around the league, with injuries hampering his progress. After leaving the NHL, Nolan had a brief stint in Switzerland in 2010, although he finally retired in 2012 following a 10-day contract stint with the Sharks. Eric Lindros, 1991.
The Quebec Nordiques are very proud to select as first pick overall in the 1991 NHL annual draft from the Oshawa Generals of the OHL, Eric Lindros.
It's pretty rare for a team to get back-to-back #1 picks, but in 1991, the Nordics literally struck gold again, hitting the #1 pick. And this time, they selected Eric Lindros.
It feels great. It's quite an honor.
One of the most anticipated junior hockey players in history. With a blend of skill and size, Lindros was definitely huge. The problem, though, was that this guy did not want to play for Quebec. He told the team that he'd play outside the NHL in the 1992-93 season and re-enter the draft in 1993. As a result, the Nordics ended up trading his rights to the Philadelphia Flyers in exchange for 6 players, 2 draft picks, and $15 million. In his first game, Lindros played against, guess who? The Nordics. He lit Quebec up with a pair of goals, and he pretty much announced himself on the NHL stage. In 7 seasons with the Flyers, Lindros averaged 1.3 points per game. He won the MVP award in the 94-95 season, and he led the Stanley Cup playoffs in points in the 96-97 season. That said, this journey wasn't always so smooth. Lindros and his parents regularly crashed with the Flyers organization, and he also had his fair share of injuries. Lindros was traded to the Rangers. He had 73 points in 72 games with New York. He played 2 more seasons with the Rangers, 1 more with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and 1 with the Dallas Stars. He retired following the 2006-07 season, with a stacked resume that included 372 regular season goals and 865 points. Sadly, though, he never won a Stanley Cup.
We would like to pick from Zlin, Czechoslovakia, Roman Hamrlik.
Roman Hamrlik, 1992. The first ever player to be drafted by the Tampa Bay Lightning, Roman Hamrlik was selected with a #1 pick in the 1992 NHL Draft. His first season saw him take on a bulk of the expansion team's attacking load, scoring 21 points in 67 games. Hamrlik went on to improve his resume, getting 65 points in the 95-96 season, a season where the Lightning also entered into the Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time in franchise history. Sadly, by December 1997, the Lightning traded him to the Edmonton Oilers. Hamrlik had 3 relatively underwhelming seasons with the Oilers, although he did win an Olympic gold medal with the Czech team in 1998. By June 2000, the Oilers chose to trade Hamrlik to the New York Islanders. He had 4 impressive seasons in the Big Apple, matching his career high with 16 goals in the 2000-2001 season. He eventually went to the Calgary Flames in August 2005, and this started a team bounce that lasted until the 2012-2013 season. Alexandre Daigle, 1993.
First pick in the 1993 entry draft, the Ottawa Senators welcome Alexandre Daigle.
After getting 247 points in 119 QMJHL games, For the Victoriaville Tigers, it's understandable that Alexandre Daigle was the top prospect in the '93 draft. Several teams, including the Nordics again, tried to send packages to the Ottawa Senators to get him.
It's a great thing because all my family are there and all my relationships, so it's just a great thing, and we'll celebrate after.
But the Senators refused, drafting him instead. In his first season, Daigle hit 51 points, showing that he was a pretty solid player. Sadly though, this would be the climax of his career pretty much. Daigle never really blossomed into the player he was promised to be, and he was constantly criticized for seemingly never giving enough of a damn to try on the ice. Following his rookie season, Daigle's finest offensive season came in '96-'97, when he scored 26 goals and hit 25 assists. He was eventually sent to the Flyers in 1998, and to be honest, he didn't really do so much with the team in Philly either. His numbers were pretty lackluster, and by January 1999, he was gone. In '99, Daigle was traded to the Oilers, but Edmonton sent him straight to Tampa Bay, where he'd go on to be mediocre again. That October, Tampa traded Daigle to the Rangers for literally nothing, just future considerations, whatever those are. All in all, Daigle didn't really have much of a prominent career. He bounced in and out of the league, and while he eventually came back with the Minnesota Wilds in the mid-2000s, he really didn't have much of an impact. Ed Jovanovski, 1994.
And I am proud and privileged to announce that the Florida Panthers picked Ed Jovanovski.
Ed Jovanovski earned a pretty impressive career in the OHL, and this prompted the Florida Panthers to pick him first overall in 1994.
Not a chance. This took a lot of work and it took a lot of time, and this glad happened.
He did make an immediate impact, earning all rookie honors and helping the Panthers to reach the Stanley Cup Finals. JovoCop followed this rookie season with a relatively solid sophomore season, where he established himself as one of the league's dominant physical defensemen. Still, the '98-'99 season marked the end of the road for Jovanovski, as the Panthers shipped him off to the Vancouver Canucks. He spent almost a decade there, honing his reputation as a solid defender and putting up solid performances across the board. But after his contract ran out in 2006, he joined the Phoenix Coyotes. He did lead the team's defensive men in scoring, but he eventually went back to the Panthers before retiring in 2015. Before we continue, please remember to hit that like button to help our video. We've got a lot more fun content coming your way, and your support means the world to us as we look to get our channel moving. So, leave a comment, drop a like, and share this video with even more hockey heads. Let's continue. Brian Berard, 1995.
The Ottawa Senators are pleased and proud to select with the first pick overall this year from the Detroit Junior Whalers, Brian Berard.
With just one season in the OHL, Brian Berard had already built a resume that sent teams scrambling for his signature in the NHL. And by the '95 draft, he went first overall to the Ottawa Senators.
That's great. I mean, I'm just proud to be selected. This is every boy's dream to be drafted, but I mean, this is just the first step. I got to go work hard every day after, and we'll see what happens come training camp.
Interestingly, Berard never played a single game for the Senators. Issues with his rookie contract negotiation led to a drawn-out dispute, and by the midpoint of the season, he was eventually sent to the Islanders. Berard's NHL debut came with the Islanders, and he got impressive numbers in points and assists in '96, with 8 goals and 40 assists in 82 games. He settled in even more by his sophomore season, but by the '98-'99 season, he was surprisingly traded to the Maple Leafs. Despite the shock of the trade, Berard continued to put up impressive numbers for Toronto and even got his first taste of NHL playoff experience. Sadly, much of this was cut short following a terrible eye injury that left Berard struggling to regain sight in his right eye.
It's going to be a problem.
The night I got injured, I pretty much remember everything.
As Brian Berard is badly cut on a high stick by Marian Hossa.
The player had to get 7 surgeries, and he was sidelined up until the 2001-2002 season, when he moved to the Rangers. There was some hype surrounding Berard's return, but his stint showed that he just wasn't the same player anymore. He scored just 2 goals with 21 assists in 82 games, and he eventually went to the Boston Bruins. With the Bruins, Berard started to look a bit like his old self. He had 38 points in 80 games, and while the Bruins wanted to keep him, a contract dispute led to the two parting ways, and Berard joining the Blackhawks for the 03-04 season. Offensive production peaked for Berard with the Blackhawks, but the lockout in 04-05 meant that he had to be on the move again. The Columbus Blue Jackets came calling, and while Berard had a good enough first season, Father Time caught up. He began developing serious back issues, and his playtime dropped. Berard went to the Islanders for a final hurrah. The 07-08 season was pretty forgettable for him, and by the end of the season, his injury issues meant that he just couldn't keep on. Chris Phillips, 1996.
From the Canadian Hockey League Prince Albert Raiders, Chris Phillips.
The Ottawa Senators drafted Chris Phillips first overall in the 1996 draft.
This is just a dream come true.
And he went on to play here for 2 decades. Phillips was a defensive juggernaut. His offense might not have been the best, but he still ranks 3rd on the Senators' all-time points list among defensive men with 288. He also ranks 2nd in penalty minutes with 756. All in all, Phillips was more than a player for the Senators. He was a reliable defender, chipping in at every point. Just as well, he blossomed into a real leader, holding the alternate captain for 10 seasons, longer than any other player in franchise history. He might not have made any All-Star teams or won a Stanley Cup, but Phillips made a name as the ultimate team guy. He was also known to be committed to the Ottawa area, making him beloved both within and outside the Senators organization. Joe Thornton, 1997.
The Boston Bruins select as the #1 pick in the 1997 entry draft, Joe Thornton.
A 6'4" center, Thornton was selected by the Boston Bruins as the first overall pick following 2 impressive seasons in the OHL. He had relatively quiet rookie and sophomore seasons, but by the 1999-2000 season, his numbers picked up big time. 23 goals and 37 assists for 60 points in 81 games. Not bad at all. By 2002, Thornton became one of only 3 Bruins to have 100 points and 100 penalty minutes in the same season. He continued his impressive form up until 2005, when he was dealt to the San Jose Sharks. With the Sharks, Thornton was an instant hit. He won the Art Ross Trophy in the 05-06 season, and he also won the MVP award. The 06-07 season was more of the same, with Thornton becoming the 3rd player in history with back-to-back 90-assist seasons. And the next season, he became the 3rd player to lead the NHL in assists for 3 consecutive seasons. Thornton's resume is stacked. But sadly, he also retired without winning the ultimate prize. He did have stints with the Maple Leafs and the Panthers, but those didn't really pan out at the end of it all. Vincent Lecavalier, 1998.
#1 pick in the entire NHL draft, Vincent Lecavalier.
Dubbed the next Michael Jordan of hockey by the organization, Vincent Lecavalier had huge expectations when the Tampa Bay Lightning drafted him in 1997. But with his rookie season ending with just 28 points, it's safe to say that he didn't quite live up to this billing. He did improve to 67 points in the 1999-2000 season and became the team captain, but his performance remained inconsistent in the years following. That said, he was pretty instrumental in the Lightning's Cup-winning 03-04 season, scoring 16 points in 23 playoff games. Lecavalier scored at least 20 goals, and his output remained pretty consistent throughout until his contract got bought out in 2013. He signed as a free agent with the Flyers that year, scoring 37 points in 69 games. All in all, Lecavalier retired with 949 points in 1,212 NHL games. His jersey was retired in 2013, showing that he's always got a home there. Patrick Stefan, 1999.
First overall pick in the 1999 NHL entry draft from the International Hockey League, Long Beach Ice Dogs, Patrick Stefan.
Following stints in both the Czech Republic and the IHL, Patrick Stefan got his big break in 1999 after the Atlanta Thrashers picked him first overall in the draft.
It was my dream, go to #1, and I just cannot believe it right now.
With the experience he already had, Stefan was adjusted rather well to life in the NHL, improving from 25 to 31 points in his first 2 seasons. The problem, though, was that Stefan was pretty much banged up early in his NHL career. He had lingering injury problems from his IHL days, and these ended up catching up with him. By 03-04, Stefan had his best season, playing all 82 games and scoring 40 points overall. But injury problems plagued him the next season, limiting him to just 25 points in 67 games. With this inconsistency, Atlanta eventually decided to cut their losses and trade Stefan to the Dallas Stars in the 06-07 season. He went on to just play 41 games for the Stars, missing a lot of time once again due to injuries. Dallas decided not to re-sign him when his contract expired. and he found himself out of the league. He did eventually go to Switzerland to try to revive his career, but a serious hip injury finally ended his career.